Hey there, Detroit sports fan. Hey there. Hey there. Hey there, Detroit. Hey there, Detroit sports fanatics. I'm Taylor Phillips, and welcome to episode 59 of Taylor's Detroit Sports on Spreaker. I need my teeth punched down my throat for mumbling. For stumbling like that. I sincerely apologize. I want my teeth bled and punched down my throat. I'm just kidding. You can also find this and all you can also find this and all other episodes of Taylor's Detroit Sports on iHeartRadio. Add me on Facebook as Taylor Phillips, facebook.com/Phil1DT. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page. Join my Facebook group. Join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group, and follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Tonight we're going to talk some Tigers, Lions, Michiagn State, and Pistons. Tigers had Thursday off. They play the Cleveland Indians at home Friday and Saturday at 7:08 and Sunday at 1:08. Here's how the entire American League standings goes. The Cleveland Indians trail by 4 games in the American League Central Division and 3.5 games for the second AL wildcard spot. The Royals lost to the Boston Red Sox 6-3 in Kansas City last night. Or not last night, but 6-3 in Kansas City a few hours ago. So Detroit now trails KC by a half game in the AL Central. The Oakland Athletics lost again to the Chicago White Sox 1-0, so the Tigers trailed the A's by 1 game for the first wild card spot. The Tigers still lead the Seattle Mariners by a half game for the second spot in the wild card after the Mariners had Thursday off. Let's see here. That's about all the we have zero Tigers news coming from all sources as far as I'm concerned. So let's move on to the Lions. The Lions intend to promote a practice squad player to fill their open roster spot. Fill their 2 open roster spots. Justin Rogers from MLive.com writes that pair of season-ending injuries to cornerback Bill Bentley and offensive tackle Corey Hilliard create the need for 2 additions. The team filled the first opening by re-signing offensive lineman Garrett Reynolds, who could be thrust into a starting role, with starting right tackle Adrian Waddle still battling a calf injury. The second job will likely be taken by one of 2 practice squad defensive backs, Mohamed Cisse or Nate Ness. Nate Ness is one of the Lions' draft picks this year. During head coach Jim Caldwell's Tuesday press conference, he said the team liked Cisse's length, speed, toughness, and potential. In 4 preseason games, the 6'2", 200-pound undrafted rookie out of Nebraska made 4 tackles, broke up 2 passes, and recorded an interception. Caught an interception. Ness, a late off-season add who has bounced around the league since going undrafted in 2009, earned a spot on the practice squad after intercepting a pass in each of the final 2 preseason contests, which were both wins. He also has some regular season experience, appearing in 7 contests with the Dolphins, Rams, and Seahawks in 2010 and 2011. But neither of those players really provide depth at the nickelback position, where Bentley's injury created a void. Rookie Nevin Lawson is slated to fill the role, while Cassius Vaughn and Rasheem Mathis are capable of sliding inside an injury situation. There was also a comment. No, not a comment. An article from Detroit News beat writer Terry Foster and co-host of the Valeni and Foster weekday afternoon show from 2 to 6 on Detroit's 97.1 The Ticket, with its title reading, "If Cam Newton were white, he'd have to apologize to Ndamukong Suh." He repeated a comment 5 times, calling Ndamukong Suh Donkey Kong Suh. And Terry Foster thought it was racist. But he's basing this on racists, so I would call, out of fairness, I would label Terry Foster a half racist. Newton said 5 times, "My main focus now is focusing on the Detroit Lions," and I quote, "I think I got my hands full trying to find ways to stay protected from Donkey Kong Suh and my fellow Auburn teammate Nick Fairley," unquote. 5 times. But he thinks Cam Newton should apologize to Ndamukong Suh. But he said, even though Cam Newton was black, see, now Terry Foster can't even make up his mind. He said if only Cam Newton were white, he would have to apologize to Ndamukong Suh. And then in the title of the article, and then somewhere in the body of the article, it said, Newton, even though he is black, should apologize. What's fair is fair. I mean, how confusing is this? Can you imagine? That's why Jeff Moss from the Detroit Sports Rag wrote an article about Terry Foster's article on the Donkey Kong Suh comment by Cam Newton. Moss wrote, when I first heard via Twitter that Newton made the comment, I hearkened back to my wife's encounter with the Suh family and thought nothing more of it. I certainly didn't think noted Detroit News imbecile Terry Foster would be calling for Newton to apologize to Suh as a result. It never even crossed my mind that anyone could construe this to be racist, because when I think of the actual Donkey Kong, I don't think of him as a gorilla so much as I think of him as a fictional video game character hurling barrels at a Louis De Palma-looking dude. Yep, Foster went there. In a mind-numbingly dumb column, Foster explained that if a white player called Suh Donkey Kong, an immediate apology would have been demanded. That it's some sort of double standard if the easily offended don't immediately demand a mea culpa from African-American Cam Newton. First of all, I'm not sure anyone but the most politically correct dumbos who are always on the lookout for a reason to be disgruntled would have said a word if Eli Manning had said the same thing. I am guessing a reasonable white quarterback would have said, I didn't even realize Donkey Kong was a gorilla. I made a joke because his name sounded like Donkey Kong. Now leave me alone while I figure out a way to avoid this monster on Sunday. This is actually a little personal for me. A few years ago, Foster told his large Twitter audience that I, Jeff Moss, was a racist because I mockingly had labeled Michael Rosenberg Rosenheeb in a tirade I posted on here about the ex-Free columnist's personal vendetta against Rich Rodriguez. Yep, I, Jeff Moss, am a racist because I said Heeb, even though I had a bar mitzvah, graduated from Temple Israel's high school program, can still recite parts of my half-Torah, and am missing a somewhat significant portion of foreskin. And years after Foster's character assassination of Jeff Moss took place, he still doesn't understand that there is a reasonable double standard when it comes to this sort of stuff. It's why I could say Hebe and Foster can't. It's why Chris Rock can become famous off of a routine where he says he hates people called the N-word, and Louis C.K. cannot. And it's why Cam Newton is given the benefit of the doubt when he jokingly refers to a fellow African American as Donkey Kong, when Riley Cooper probably wouldn't. That's just the world we live in, and it shouldn't even change. And I'm not even sure whom I should be more disgusted with in this case, Foster or the Detroit News editor who decided to splash this article on the front page of the paper's website, race card playing putts, just because it was obvious clickbait. Which leads to another point. You really don't have to go out of your way to report about racism. That's the great thing about racism. It's pretty much everywhere, and you don't even have to go far to look for it. But the only thing people like Terry Foster accomplish when posting garbage like this is to get a segment of the Caucasian population to sit back and say, racism doesn't exist anymore. We have a black president. This isn't the 1960s, blah, blah, blah. Or as DSR forum poster Mike Gibbons argues, he is actually pandering to Caucasians impotently. Because writing about racism where it doesn't exist doesn't help anyone, no matter to whom you are pandering. That is in the title article, Cam Newton owes nobody an apology, on DetroitSportsRag.com or DetroitSportsRag.net. Anyway, the Lions are expected undrafted rookie Cornelius Lucas to step up against the Panthers. Also, Carolina Panthers head coach Ron Rivera was impressed by Jim Caldwell's handling of defensive tackle Nick Fairley. Let's move on to college football. Angelique S. Chengelis of the Detroit News writes, Michigan Stadium's attendance streak in danger of ending. After losing to Notre Dame 31-0, Michigan is playing winless Miami, Ohio on Saturday, a matchup that wasn't an easy sell to begin with. And coming off the route in South Bend, it hasn't gotten easier. As of Wednesday, StubHub had end zone tickets going for as low as $22, about a $10 drop since last Sunday. There is a ticket package deal offered this week on Amazon Locals, similar to those that appealed on Groupon and Living Social before the season opener against Appalachian State. That includes one ticket, a hot dog, a T-shirt, beverage and program for $65, a $109 value. All tickets are plentiful on mgoblue.com. As of Wednesday, there was a limit of 99 tickets for the game. An attempt to purchase that number was successful, with end zone seats available in Section 15 over 8 rows. And you can find all the numbers here. As Michigan prepares to take on the Red Hawks Saturday at 3:30 on BTN, the Big Ten Network, and on the radio on WWJ 950, News Radio 950 in Detroit, a CBS radio station associated with 97.1 The Ticket, CBS Radio 1270 in Detroit, part of CBS Detroit. The Wolverines are 1-1. The Red Hawks are 0-2. Angelique's line is Michigan by 31. Michigan leads 4-0 in the series. Michigan won their last game 16-6, September 6, 2008. Michigan has won 17 consecutive non-conference games at Michigan Stadium. Moving on to Michigan State. The Spartans seek to get running game going during the bye week. Joe Rexroth of the Detroit Free Press writes, among Michigan State's priorities during extra time off, followed by noon games September 20th against Eastern Michigan, the Eagles, and September 27th against Wyoming, is a revving of the running game. Sophomore Delton Williams is one of the potential answers. The number 13 Spartans at 1-1 got things going in the second quarter of Saturday's 46-27 loss at Oregon and had 86 yards rushing at the half, but finished with 123 on 36 carries, 3.4 yards per carry, and 30 of the 37 second half yards came on a sweep to receiver R.J. Shelton. MSU co-offensive coordinator and running backs coach Dave Warner said, quote, in retrospect, I probably should have played Delton. It didn't happen, but yeah, should have played him. He's got to play. Delton's got a number 2 back. Nick Hill has again. He's had a great camp. But Delton provides the big back, so to speak, the banger in there. And I think he provides us that change-up that I think we need, unquote. Williams remains ahead of redshirt freshman Gerald Holmes Jr. on the depth chart, Warner said. The health of senior starter Jeremy Langford also may have been a factor. Langford, who limped off with an ankle sprain twice in MSU's season opener, ran 24 times for 86 yards at Oregon and seemed to lack his usual explosion at times. Freshman linebacker Deon Drake has not made it to campus yet as he tries to become academically eligible and said he will forego this semester at MSU. Drake will continue to work on getting things squared away eligibility-wise, D'Antonio said. 2 former MSU players are among 25 finalists for the Polynesian Football Hall of Fame. Forget that. Spartans play the Eastern Michigan Eagles next week, Saturday at noon on the Big Ten Network on BTN. But for this Saturday, the Eastern Michigan Eagles visit the Old Dominion Monarchs at 6 o'clock. Rounding out the rest of the mitten in college football, the Central Michigan Chippewas host the Syracuse Orangemen at noon on ESPN News. And the Western Michigan and their rivals, the Western Michigan arch rivals, the Western Michigan Broncos, travel out west to Idaho and play the Vandals, the Idaho Vandals, that is, at 5 o'clock on ESPN3 and the Watch ESPN mobile app on your smartphone. Let's move on to some hockey. Red Wings contract talks with Danny DeKeyser at a standstill as training camp nears. Ansar Khan writes from MLive.com. The sides haven't made progress the past 2 weeks, putting into question whether DeKeyser will be on the ice in Traverse City on September 19th. He's been skating with his teammates during informal practices at Joe Louis Arena. He said on multiple occasions that he's optimistic a deal will be done before camp and he won't be a holdout. He's coming off a solid rookie season and has quickly established himself one of the team's top defensemen. But contract talks have been difficult because there's only a small sample size of game 76 to be exact to gauge whether his salary should be slotted. DeKeyser's options are limited. He's not going to play in Europe, and it's unlikely another club will sign him to an offer sheet. So a deal with the Red Wings is certain to happen. It's just a question of when. Also, the NHL has announced rules for changes for this upcoming 2014-2015 season. Rule number 1. The rink, the goalkeeper's restricted area. The trapezoid will be expanded by 2 feet from the goalposts on both sides of the net. Rule 23, game misconduct penalties. A new game misconduct category will be created. Clipping, charging, elbowing, interference, kneeing, headbutting, and butt-ending move from the general category into the same category, and boarding and checking from behind, physical fouls, whereby a player who incurs 2 such game misconducts in this category would now be automatically suspended for 1 game. Rule 24, the penalty shot. In terms of the penalty shot, the spinorama move, as described in section 24.2 of last season's NHL rulebook, will no longer be permitted either in penalty shot situations or in the shootout. Rule 38, video goal judge. Video review will be expanded in the following areas. Rule 38.4, VIII, has been modified to allow broader discretion to hockey operations to assist the referees in determining the legitimacy of all potential goals, e.g. to ensure they are good hockey goals. The revised rule will allow hockey operations to correct a broader array of situations where video review clearly establishes that a goal or no goal call on the ice has been made in error. The new expanded rule will also allow hockey operations to provide guidance to referees on goal and potential goal plays where the referee has blown his whistle or intended to blow his whistle after having lost sight of the puck. So that's good. In reviewing kicked-in goals, hockey operations will require more demonstrable video evidence of a distinct kicking motion in order to overrule a goal call on the ice or to uphold a no-goal call on the ice. Rule 57, tripping. The rule relating to tripping will be revised to specifically provide that a 2-minute minor penalty will be assessed when a defending player dives and trips an attacking player with his body, arms, shoulder, regardless of whether the defending player is able to make initial contact with the puck. But in situations where a penalty shot might otherwise be appropriate, if the defending player dives and touches the puck first before the trip, no penalty shot will be awarded. In such cases, the resulting penalty will be limited to a 2-minute minor penalty for tripping. Rule 64, diving /embellishment. The supplementary discipline penalties associated with Rule 64.3 diving embellishment will be revised to bring attention to and more seriously penalize players and teams who repeatedly dive and embellish in an attempt to draw penalties. Fines will be assessed to players and head coaches on a graduated scale outlined below. Incidents 1 through 8. Players and head coaches the players receive a warning on the first incident, and the head coaches don't get anything on the first 3 incidents. But after all that, that's when the fines come up. Rule 76. Face-offs to curb delay tactics. The first face-off violation will be given a warning, but will be required to remain in the circle to take the face-off. The second face-off violation by the defending team in such a situation will result in a 2-minute minor bench penalty. Rule 84, overtime. Teams will switch ends prior to the start of overtime in the regular season and the entire ice surface will undergo a dry scrape prior to the start of overtime in the regular season, which means no Zamboni. No Zamboni work. And the procedure requiring the head coach to submit a list of the first 3 shooters in the shootout has been eliminated. So the head coach has to make impromptu choices for shootout shooters. Rule 85, puck out of bounds. Shots at the net by a player on the attacking team where the shot breaks the glass, the shot goes off the side of the net and deflects out of play. The shot goes off the dasher boards or glass and deflects out of play. The shot is tipped or deflected out of play by a teammate. The shot becomes wedged in or on the exterior of the goal net. All those result in a face-off remaining in the offensive zone, despite the fact that the attacking team was technically responsible for the stoppage in play. And finally, Rule 1.9, rink face-offs and face-off spots and circles, ice markings and ice markings and hash marks. The hash marks at the end zones The hash marks at the end zone circles will be moved from 3 feet apart to 5 feet, 7 inches apart, via international markings. That following rule change will be enacted for the 2014 preseason and may be continued for the regular season if approved by the league and the players, so the NHL and NHLPA. Now moving on to some Pistons Greg Monroe news. Of course, Greg Monroe is facing a 2-game suspension after NBA officials learned he pleaded guilty to impaired driving in April. Legal reports say that he urinated on himself during the booking process, according to the Huntington Woods police report documenting his arrest. They released video footage of the February 13th stop and arrest, which stemmed from a defective headlight on Wednesday. Greg Monroe said he was trying not to be in the newspaper. On his way to jail. He's trying not to be in the newspaper simply by peeing on himself. There's more news on this. His blood alcohol level was 0.9 when he was charged with a DUI. And they took 3 breathalyzer tests. First, Monroe had a .089, and then a .09, and then a .1. Ouch. They stopped him at 1:50 a.m. on February 13th, according to the dash cam, and the in-station sobriety test was conducted at about 3:20 a.m. And that 2-game suspension will be served without pay. More news on this. Let's see here. He was driving a 2007 Pontiac G6 with a woman as his passenger. She was transported to headquarters just to await a ride home during Monroe's arrest. The vehicle's license plate had expired as well. Greg Monroe told the authorities that he and the woman were leaving a bar named Bosco's in Ferndale after he was having 2 glasses of wine. And that's where the blood alcohol level rising came from. The 2 glasses of wine. Monroe had them both. things just keep getting worse for Greg Monroe, and I feel terrible for the guy. He signed a 1-year qualifying offer, making him an unrestricted free agent next summer. I want to get everyone's opinions on this. That's just terrible. So that's going to do it for episode 59 on Taylor's Detroit Sports on Spreaker. Again, you can follow me on Twitter at DT2Phillips. Add me on Facebook as Taylor Phillips. Like my Facebook page, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports page. And join my Facebook group, Taylor Phillips' Detroit Sports Group. Episode 60 is next after Tigers and Indians, Game 1. TTFN, ta-ta for now.